you know that Bitcoin uses as much energy as some entire countries? Bitcoin has a massive network of miners called ASICs that require a lot of energy to mine and secure the Bitcoin network. So, for Bitcoin to be successful, it's critical to have access to cheap and reliable energy. That's why miners are moving in flocks to Texas and running their mining operations off of natural gas wells, wind turbines, solar farms, and on-grid applications. But up to now, there hasn't been a place for Bitcoin miners and energy producers to connect with each other. That's why Digital Wildcatters is bringing everyone to the energy capital of the world, Houston, Texas, for 2 days of network and learning at the premier mining event, Empower. Maybe you're an experienced miner or energy producer that's looking for partnerships, or maybe you're new to the space and you want to learn and get your foot in the door. There's going to be content and opportunities for people from all different backgrounds. March 30th to 31st, Houston, Texas, Empower. Get more information at digitalwildcatters.com.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another week of oil and gas startups. Got a good one today. We got my boys, Jeff and Trey from Mesa Solutions. What's going on, guys?
How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good, man.
Excited to be here. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. I think we were scheduled to do this podcast last month, was it?
Yes, sir.
And we had to push. So finally making it happen. Think that Jeff over here brought some cold weather down with him to Houston.
I'm
Like,
telling you.
it was nice weather this morning, and then just all of a sudden it got cold.
Yeah, it was beautiful yesterday in Texas, and then Queen Elsa over here brought
Single digits back in Wyoming.
Yeah.
So this is beautiful.
So you guys want to tell us real quick what is Mesa Solutions, and we're gonna dive into some conversation because there's a lot going on in the power gen space and oil and gas. So tell us real quick.
Yeah,
what
for
you guys
sure.
are.
I'll go ahead and kick it off, and Jeff, if I leave any gaps in it, just fill in. Essentially, we're a power focused company, a power solutions company, and we provide that power via our natural gas generators that we manufacture. But we provide reliable and responsible power to the oil and gas industry, specifically by means of site-by-site power, microgrids, flare mitigation. So we do a lot of stuff on the crypto side, which is Jeff's lane, but we do a lot of stuff on decentralized power, distributed power, and taking flare gas and putting it back onto the grid as well.
These are all the things that I like and I nerd out on when you talk about microgrids and distributed power and cryptocurrency, digital, Bitcoin mining. Yeah. So one, it's kind of a good space to be in right now because these are all growing markets, right? Jeff, you were telling me that up in Wyoming, that's where you guys actually manufacture
Yes, sir.
the gen set. So walk me through that a little bit, because when I think of generator companies, I'm thinking, Cummins, Genprac, these types of companies. And so, if you just came to me like, hey, we're a power gen company, we supply nat gas generators, I would just think that you're distributing for those generator companies, but you guys are actually manufacturing the gen sets.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The engine block shows up imported into Illinois. It's a diesel block upfitted for natural gas in Illinois, sent to Casper, Wyoming. Genpack is also imported, custom trailer, and all the other parts and pieces. We have fabricators in Casper, Wyoming, fabricators in Nebraska. So, and we've brought as much stuff domestic as we can over the last 4 or 5 years. It's been crazy. It was a perfect storm, really. We had a big push to bring everything domestic and bring as much stuff in-house as we could.
Pre-COVID.
And pre-COVID. It was 2019, 2018. 2019, we built 800 generators on that line, on our 2 production lines in Casper, Wyoming.
Wow.
And so we bring all the parts and pieces in. Everything that we put together is with the technician in mind.
Yeah.
And so we're able to make changes on the fly in Casper according to what our customers want, what our technicians want.
I want to stop you right there. That's so fucking nice. Like, we make it with a technician in mind. Every time I was working on a drilling rig and we'd have to change out something, on the rotary table, like, dude, there's some engineer that did not think about the guy that has to fix this thing.
Absolutely.
Like, they got the rig put together and then they're like, all right, my job's done. And then I'm the one out there struggling to put parts together in very tight places. So
that was an important part of our kind of manufacturing process, is taking these generators, because at the end of the day, no matter what you're packaging or manufacturing, it's an engine and it's a gen in, right? And it all comes down to service, and your service directly correlates into your reliability. And so, yeah, we took the kind of the vision of, all right, here's what a technician needs out in the field. Here's what makes his job easier. But also on top of that, we coupled that with, what do our customers need? What kind of power requirements do they need, or what makes their job easier when they're bringing us a fuel manifold in? All these different equations. And we actually took a lot of advice from our field techs.
Yep.
Instead of just throwing something out there from a corporate level. What do you guys need? What makes your job easier? Take that, engineer it, and put it into play. Same thing for the guys on the other side of the desk, our customers. What would y'all like to see? And how can we get it done?
Yeah.
And the nice thing about manufacturing our units is it gives us that flexibility and helps us be adaptable like that.
Yeah, for sure. What are y'all's roles at Mesa? I should have asked that beginning.
Business development manager.
Okay.
Outside of oil and gas.
Okay.
So I kind of tackle everything outside of what we've traditionally done.
So you're the Bitcoin boy.
That's how I ended up in crypto. Yes, sir. Yes.
It is. But that directly ties into oil and gas, as we've learned.
Yeah.
It's paralleled. I'm the director of business development for oil and gas.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, manufacturing gensets, that's actually a pretty interesting concept. I've worked on a lot of gensets, Caterpillar C15s, typically what you see on rigs and things of that nature. What does it take to build a genset? Like you told me, hey, we bring in, the block, we import it, and then there's a power pack, and you guys built, what was it, 800 of these gensets off of 2 production lines? Like, what does a production line actually look like of putting a genset together?
It's exactly what you'd imagine. I mean, I walked out there the first time I saw the production lines and wasn't shocked. What was odd to me is that every day it looked the same, but they were moving them so quickly. So you got your trailer sitting there, and to the side of it, you've got your gen pack being married to the engine. And then you crane that onto the trailer, slides onto the next station. You start building up your electrical cabinet, adding other your parts and components. And the last part's where they drop the enclosure on it. And so you're basically seeing the same thing every time you walk out there, but you're not sure how many times they've moved off the line. It was a quick moving deal.
Yeah, they could be 3 generators deep by the time you go back out there next.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's when I first joined Mesa. I'm like, does anything change out here?
Yeah.
I love how you articulated such a complex process. In like
no. It's always,
that was awesome.
There's someone on the production line listening to this right now. Like, fuck Jeff.
Like,
it's so much harder. Yeah.
I came on in the procurement side of things, and I was purchasing for the production line.
Yeah.
So I got to know there's 800 or 900 parts and pieces on that bill of materials.
Yeah.
For those things. So I do know it a little bit more intimately than I
articulated. Yeah.
And Collin, not to interrupt, but I do want to touch on what you just said, you coming from the procurement side. So one of the great things about our organization is not that we produce a superior product and we supply our customers with reliable power and cost-effective power. But it's our culture as a whole and what we bring to the oil and gas industry and what we bring to our employees every day. And, our background's really cool. The genesis of the company, we're backed by Boone Pickens Energy, which is a private equity firm.
That's pretty cool.
So yeah, it is way cool. So that's why we don't have diesel generators in our fleet, because Mr. Pickens was all about natural gas. And then we carry the namesake Mesa is where that comes from. So to tie that in. But our organization, if you didn't know this about us, we hire very heavily on veterans. And so at one time it was about 70 or 80%. We've grown over the last few years and we're north of 300 employees, but we still have about 40 to 50% of us are veterans.
Very cool.
From our top leadership on down. And so we are very big on maintaining that culture. We're lean, we're nimble, we're adaptive. We're like a military unit, but not like the government where it's just wasting left and right.
It's like we take the good elements out of the military. Yeah.
But the thing is to go back to that culture is we love taking good, quality, talented folks who bleed Mesa blue, who understand our culture, and promoting them from within.
Yeah.
And so every time you bring somebody from outside of the culture, you somewhat dilute it for a period of time until they get their sea legs underneath them and then they're bleeding blue. But look at Jeff is a prime example of that, a procurement guy.
Yeah.
Now he's running our cryptocurrency.
Yeah,
side
that's
of the business.
awesome.
I mean, it's just a great thing.
Yeah, I love, you bring up the military reference and veterans. And I mean, there's a lot to learn from military military. I in December, a couple months ago, I spent 50 hours studying Alexander the Great because I like really respect just the logistics of moving men around the world and conquering. And you think about supply chain and logistics, how complex it is today. Think about it 2,000 years ago. Man, I actually bought this bad. Man, I'm gonna show y'all real quick. Hold on. I'm gonna walk over there and grab this painting real quick.
Nice.
Oh, that is.
Oh, wow.
That is sharp.
So I got this. Sorry for our audio listeners. You got to go check out YouTube if you want to see it. But I got this painting. Man, I got this from a Russian artist. $500 shipped to the United States.
Where? What platform?
So I just went and Googled. I was like, Alexander the Great paintings. And there's actually this marketplace, and it's all just independent artists. And you can just go on there and buy their work. And
how cool.
Yeah. But he's got the angel with the AK-47 on the cheek. So I was like, okay, I got to get this.
That's
mine. That's awesome.
Man, that is cool.
Yeah, that's maybe someday I'll get around to hanging it up. Still not like fully committed to moving in here. I was just telling these guys at Mesa that if you followed along with us, you know that I bought an MMA cage and we documented it on YouTube, and we haven't put up the MMA cage yet, but someday.
I tell you what, whenever you get to your home and you're putting it up, call us. We'll come help you.
Yeah, all right. I got some help. Yeah. Appreciate you guys helping me out there. Let's while we're on the topic of supply chain and Bitcoin mining, Bitcoin mining is going to be huge. I don't think there's any question around that. There's billions of dollars pouring into the space. One thing Chuck and I laugh about is if you took a map of prolific shell plays and then layered over where the Bitcoin mining hotspots, it's almost exactly the same. It's going to be West Texas, Oklahoma, Wyoming, North Dakota, areas where we already have high energy density. Those will be powered by nat gas, by solar, wind. I even met a guy here in Houston that's built nuclear fusion reactors, and he's like, I want to build them for Bitcoin. I'm like, shit, come by and talk to me. I want to hear this. But anyways, on the natural gas aspect, if you're listening to this and you're not familiar, you produce your natural gas from a well, and then it's got to run through a nat gas genset to produce electricity, and then you can mine your server, or you can power your Bitcoin miner servers with that. But from what I've heard is that, supply in nat gas generators has been a major bottleneck, and, just coming out of COVID and then with demand. And so how has that affected you guys in terms of being able to produce gen sets and put them together? I mean, has it been pretty challenging on the supply chain side?
Yeah, I feel like, if anybody's telling you they're not struggling with supply chain issues, they're lying.
Yeah, for sure.
But
it's the nice thing about Digital Wildcatters is podcasts and memes. There are no supply chain issues.
But no, I mean, the fortunate thing for us is we started, our leadership started recognizing some of these things that could potentially happen. And so, like Jeff alluded to earlier, we started procuring as much as possible from North America to kind of cut down on any future supply chain crunches. And then we're not fully vertically integrated, but we started to kind of gear towards that way as much as possible and doing everything in-house. And so that our availability, building units, getting units out, adding to our fleet has really helped us gain and gobble up a lot of market share, not only in oil and gas, but also in the cryptocurrency space. And so being in more control of our supply chain, having a firmer grasp on it than maybe some other people out there has really been a benefit to us.
Yeah. What I really think has been a game changer on that end, why we haven't bumped into as much supply chain issues yet, is our ability to do top ends, reman heads in-house, and totally rebuild the engine. We stood up both of those departments 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
So pre-COVID. And so we can flip these things. If they're broken, we don't have to rely on anybody but ourselves. It's all internal.
Yeah, that's what I know. One Bitcoin miner who really their competitive edge is that they're just a bunch of blue collar oil guys that can rebuild the top ends on 1970s cat generators. So huge. They're just flipping them and getting servers set up. So that's really big, is being able to do those reworks in house. Let's talk about, so there sounds like there's like two exciting markets here that I'm excited about is distributed energy and slash microgrids and Bitcoin mining. Let's talk about distributed energy systems first and what that actually is. I mean, there's an HEB here in town somewhere, Houston, that, they made a lot of headlines because, they had full on backup power with nat gas gen sets.
Mhm.
I mean, is that how you guys look at the distributed energy, is providing, hospitals, stores, critical infrastructure with nat gas generator, backup generators?
Yeah, I mean that's one facet of it. I think another side of that business is partnering with utility companies in a cogeneration application is another beneficial. But yeah,
What does that mean? What does that mean to partner up with utilities in a
like cogeneration? Yeah. So just taking natural gas and using our generators to create electricity and put that back onto the grid and supplement their power.
Interesting. So essentially, you typically have peaker plants that are running nat gas and producing power. So you guys are actually supplementing that with gen sets.
Mhm.
And
Yep. Absolutely.
that's interesting. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
That's why I do podcasts, man. I'm always learning something.
But
Interesting.
Again, going back
Yeah.
to the HEBs and the hospitals, and yeah, that's absolutely one of the markets that we're chasing.
Yeah.
Part of the silver lining in 2020 for us was we were heavily invested in the oil and gas industry. That's where we started. That was our genesis, right? But that slowdown really caused us to put a lot of time and energy and resources into all these different verticals that we wanted to establish. We always talked about it, but the demand on the oil and gas side always just, had its thumb on us, and which is a great problem to have, right?
Yeah.
We love being in demand. But 2020 kind of changed that. It gave us the opportunity to step back, reevaluate, detach a little bit from what was going on and say, hey, now's a great time to stand up our manufacturing facility, not just for Mesa generators, but we'll build generators and sell them to anybody out there.
Yeah.
We have some strategic partnerships with large companies, and build generators for them every day. Gave us the opportunity to stand up commercial industrial applications, kind of going back to your microgrid
Mhm.
applications that you were talking about, and then also stand up a viable international market.
Yeah.
And so we have projects in Australia and Nigeria and Middle
Cool.
East.
The you guys got oil and gas roots, and I think one area that's really cool is microgrids and oil and gas leases. And this is becoming more of a thing with electrification of the oil and gas industry. A while back we had it's almost exactly a year ago, we had recorded a video for our Evolve conference of walking through an electric frac with EQT, and they have this big natural gas turbine generator out there that was powering the frac. Do you guys are y'all involved in that space too? Because like that generator out there was like, jet engine, turbine. Do you guys do that type of stuff?
Not at this moment. So like on the drilling side, the load swings, on a drilling rig, load swings are just too great for
Yeah.
a natural gas generator to keep
Yeah.
up with. On the completion side of the business, which is actually my background, we do some smaller applications. So we'll have a megawatt or two of power on site for companies either running their blender or some of their
Mhm.
backside equipment, or maybe the data van, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we are getting into that space. But as far as powering actual like natural gas fleets or just an e-fleet in
Yeah.
general, we haven't touched on that yet. So we're still, what we manufacture is a 70 kW unit all the way up to a 350 and everything in between. Now, the reason we don't do anything larger than that, not saying we won't in the future or that we're not working on it now at our R&D facility, but we found that with the 350, we can be scalable very rapidly
Yeah.
for our customers and in a way that's economical still.
Yeah, it's 80-20 principle, right?
Yeah.
You can get most of what you need
Yeah.
with those. This might be a stupid question, but it's
Doubt
a
it.
question nonetheless. You just talked about load swings on a drilling rig. How come diesel generators can handle those, but not nat gas
That's a
generators?
very good question. I can't answer that for you.
This episode is brought to you by our friends at CombuCurve. If you haven't heard, Aries and PhD winner out and CombuCurve is in. CombuCurve is the cloud-based operating system for energy companies. The single integrated platform helps your engineering teams become more agile, precise, and efficient than ever before. For the first time ever, you now generate type curves and forecast thousands of wells accurately and in a fraction of the time. Oh, and it can automatically run these forecasts every single day. What I love most about the CombuCurve team is their work ethic and actually caring about their customers. Every time I talk to the team, Armand, Jeremy, everybody else over there, they're reinvesting into growing the development team to tackle any challenges that their clients may be facing. But don't take my word for it. Go over to CombuCurve.com, read the dozens of testimonials on their website from clients like ARM Energy, Laredo Petroleum, Rock and W Minerals, and many more. Request a demo, and these guys will get you taken care of.
Don't know. That's a technical
maybe
question.
Maybe it wasn't a stupid question. I was just thinking, like, when you said that, I was like, I want to understand the technicalities of that now, because actually with electric drilling rigs, I mean, to my understanding, a lot of people are actually looking at just running them on grid.
Yeah.
And which I thought that was super interesting.
That requires a lot of planning,
dude,
from an oil and gas company.
Fuck yeah, man. I was just like, man, that's so much power draw. But then you think about how much a frac fleet takes, and it's like, okay, it's understandable you can't run a frac spread off of the grid, but then you see these big nat gas turbine generators, and super cool. I mean, when we went out to EQT, I mean, like, it's quiet out there except for right by the turbine,
That's creepy. So
yeah.
My background is wireline, and I'm used to.
You're a wireline hand?
I was, yeah.
And this guy, we went to the same high school, both ran wireline. Yeah. I ran wireline too.
Yeah.
Who'd you run wireline for?
Well, started off as Intertech.
Okay.
And became the EMP wireline. And then Slimmer J bought us out.
Yep. Y'all's yard was right there in Midland off of
250 and the interstate.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So, man, a great company, but that, yeah. So I grew up on completion sites running a wireline truck. That part of my career was actually, running bond logs and compensating neutrons, stuff like that. But, it evolved into just plug and perf stage work.
But, I think everyone in wireline went through that transformation where it's like you do some through tubing work, do some logs, then all of a sudden you're working 100 hours a week.
That's it.
Just running stages.
Plug and perf. But I mean, it's loud, and you learn to sleep through that, and get your rest through that. And then I had the honor to go out to a location. I can't remember whose location it was. Doesn't matter, but. Anyways, that was an E-frac site, and it's creepy.
Yeah, it is. That's what
it's weird.
It's like I was used to, like, I grew up sleeping on drilling rigs and frac jobs. Like, if it's quiet, something's fucked up, and I can't sleep.
Down.
Yeah. So like you get used to sleeping with that noise. Like it only like it's like harmonic to you, puts you to sleep.
You
so
don't hear those pumps.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so that was definitely something to get used to. But yeah, I mean, I think that. It's like I talked to some of my buddies in climate tech that are focused on distributed energy systems and things of that nature. And I'm like, man, there's great applications in oil and gas for building out microgrids. Yeah.
And we're doing it every day. And I think oil and gas companies are starting to see the value in it. You take what the microgrid costs and you kind of spread that out over a kilowatt per hour equivalency. And we're on par or cheaper than utility power, just as reliable. And we don't just throw those numbers around. We actually put that data in our customers' hands. So we have a proprietary telemetry system in all of our generators, and this is it's not like I said, it's not off the shelf. We built it in house. We engineered it, and it collects probably 35 to 40 KPIs of different data points, and it's app-based, web-based.
So what do you do with those? What do you do with those KPIs and data
the important
points?
Stuff for us is, so we don't just have this system up in the cloud and it's not sending alerts to some technician sleeping in his bed, right? When something goes on, we actually have a 24/7 manned operations center that's keeping an eye on all of our generators. And when something's out of spec, we actually kind of get ahead of it before there's any kind of shutdown, which really helps our runtime.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because so it sounds like you have 24/7 ops that are keeping eyes on gen sets and says, okay, we've got a problem here. Let's fix it before we have to shut down. That kind of leads to the business model a little bit. I mean, do you lease these units out to companies and then monitor them alongside that? Or do companies buy the gen sets and you guys charge a service to monitor them? Both? Okay.
Yeah.
It's a fair question too. We just do it all.
We do. It's up to the customer. I mean, typically on the oil and gas side, it's best just to lease them. Look at that power we're providing as utility power. You don't go out and try to buy the utility company.
Yeah.
You're just buying power from them.
Yeah.
Kind of the same model there. But yeah, we're not opposed to selling generators, and then wrapping them up into some kind of a service contract. And then part of that contract would be the telemetry as well, would come with it. And so we use that telemetry to diagnose issues, if there are any out in the field, to get ahead of any issues in the field, but also more importantly, to optimize the power we have on site. Right. So,
Yeah.
You may think you need a certain size generator based off of your artificial lift down hole or your facility equipment on site or whatever H pump you have running your disposal. But after a short amount of time, we can pull some historical data and say, hey, you know what? We actually need to downsize this unit. One, it's better for the health of our generator to be running at 80 or 90% load. Two, we can save you some money. So the further down we can drive that kilowatt per hour equivalency, the better off our customer is.
Yeah, it was actually a good point that, sorry to interrupt you, but just talking about load on generators is something that I've been kind of exploring a little bit more, because ultimately generators like to be running under load, right? And there's a lot of there's a lot of efficiency gains there. It's like, I took a generator down to New Orleans during the hurricane, and the house I was staying at, we didn't have power, so we needed that generator. And it's like, you just fucking let it run the whole time, and it's not necessarily under load at nighttime, and it's not great for it, right? And so that's just my little Honda generator, so I don't give a fuck if it goes out. But when you're talking about massive generators, it's like you want to be really efficient with how you're using them. That way you increase longevity of them. And so I was like, I bet some of the KPIs and data that you guys are collecting kind of plays a part in that.
Yeah, for sure. We're looking at it to help out with the health of our generators, the cost to our customer, and also from an ESG standpoint, right? The greater the load they're under, the better the efficiency of the burn is, and so you get less emissions from that.
Running them at low load, you can get carbon buildup on the heads where they're not going to want to take those high loads again.
Yeah,
and it's just that leads into a funny angle that's getting explored by a lot of people right now, is how crypto fits in. I mean, those loads are very flexible.
Yeah.
So you've got a gen. Whatever kind of, maybe it's a greenhouse with a watering process every 3 times a day. So you've got a lot of capacity there that's not being used.
Yeah.
And you can level that out, supporting crypto in between the watering, shut off your miners for a little while.
Yeah.
Bring them back on when the watering process is over.
Yeah.
So just a lot of flexibility to it that can keep these things at a utilization that's good for everybody involved.
Yeah. Yeah. Talking about microgrids is kind of off topic, but just bringing up the greenhouse and the watering. Did you guys get a chance to see our documentary that we made with the dairy farmer up in Ohio?
No, but I've heard a lot about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
this guy, they had gotten some royalties, right? He used
so he used his royalties from Rice Energy and the nat gas pad that they had, and he fully automated his dairy farm. I'm talking fully automated. He's 4th generation, 65-year-old farmer, and he wakes up in the morning, gets on his computer, checks all his data, and that's awesome. About his. Yeah, I mean, just fucking good for him.
Just let it work for you.
But anyways, in the pins, he's got these Roombas essentially, and it goes around the pin and scoops up all the cow shit, and then it takes it to a dump spot and puts it down there, and then it goes into a chute into this big pit. And he told me his next evolution of thinking, he's like, yeah, I've got this big pit of manure, so I'm looking at how can I turn that into renewable natural gas and get a generator out here and just power my whole farm. And I was like, man, this dude is on level 10 for optimization and microgrids.
Sure.
Yeah.
He's crushing it right now.
Yeah. So let's talk about Bitcoin mining and cryptocurrency. Let's just, not even cryptocurrency, Bitcoin mining. Fuck all the other cryptos.
Maximal.
Yeah, I'm a Bitcoin maxi for sure. Obviously, growing space. Going to continue to be a growing space in my mind over the next 2 decades, and energy plays a big part in that, right? I don't know if this is proprietary or not, but I know you guys have worked with Crusoe, I believe, and provided power to Crusoe. Collin Cabinets from Crusoe has been on the show a couple of times and talked shop on Bitcoin mining. What are you guys? I don't even know what question I want to ask. Like, what are you guys seeing in that space? It's going to be Jeff, the Bitcoin boy, that's answering on this for BizDev for that side. But, I'm having conversations daily, weekly, with different parties in the space, whether it's institutional funds, whether it's, power gen guys, whether it's oil and gas guys, whether it's Bitcoin miners, whether it's blood sucking attorneys trying to figure out how they make some money in the space. What are y'all seeing from the power gen side?
Oh, there's the guys that are doing it at scale, like you said, are all Bitcoin guys. The guys that are thinking far enough ahead are the off-grid guys. I mean, there's just so much opportunity now to figure it out. And when it's done the right way, those are the guys that are going to be viable in 10 years. When it halves in 2024. I mean, there's a lot of people only planning to mine until 2024. The herd's going to get thinned. But these guys wanting to vertically integrate and bring everything in that they possibly can to have 10, 20 years of the cheapest power on the planet are the ones that are going to be viable. So, I mean, there's a lot of guys that are getting while the getting's good, but then there's a whole other group that's thinking 10 steps further.
Yeah.
That are going to be around for a long time.
Yeah. The, kind of my evolution on this thought was been in the space for a few years, talking about it, thinking about it, talking to different parties and trying to match up miners with EMPs and, oh, hey, you have gas, you've got miners, but it's really the guys that vertically integrate in the oil and gas space over time that win, that, hey, we own the underlying asset and the power gen and the miners. The only thing is like, I think people underestimate it's not trivial to have power generation, right? I mean, generators, they're mechanical, they fucking break. We've all been around mechanical things in the oil field. Like it's breaking down on you. The supply chain issues of even getting a gen set on site. I mean, how, what differentiates Mesa between an Interflex or a Cummins or a Caterpillar? What's y'all? I mean, this is your time to shine and pitch here right now. Like I'm setting you up right now, but this is a genuine question from me. Is if I have an operation out there and I need a gen set, like I'm a Cummins fanboy. Like what's keeping me from going and getting a Cummins or a Caterpillar? Why would someone pick Mesa?
Easy answer that I'm sure is on the tip of Trey's tongue right now.
Hit it.
Because it was one of my first questions when I got to Mesa. I'm like, man, this is so cool. Is there other companies building stuff like this? I saw that production line and I was in awe. Had a conversation with my buddy who actually helped bring me to Mesa. He's our chief of field operations now. He said, man, you can have the best generator in the world. And if it's not serviced, if the oil hasn't been changed in 10,000 hours and it's not acting right, someone's going to say that Caterpillar's a piece of junk. And we build generators for Caterpillar now. We have an agreement with them where we'll sell to their distributors. And it's strictly our service. It's our guys in the field that set us apart 100%.
Yeah.
It's our ability to help those guys react and bring in those data points and get those guys on site before anyone else could react.
Yeah.
So it's keeping these things pristine. And that's the question you asked earlier. Do we rent? Do we sell? Do we lease? Everything and all in between. But I'll tell you on the sales side, and we've seen a couple of customers go through it. I mean, if they're like, we can take care of these things ourselves. And we're like, please go with a service package, because that's what keeps our name pristine.
Yeah.
We're the ones that know how to take care of these things. We've been doing it since the start.
Yeah, I was a motorman on a drilling rig, and this is pre-horizontals. Like we're still drilling verticals, and like listening to you talk, I'm like thinking about my oil changes on those gen sets, and like those motors would always be overheating, so we just take a pressure washer gun and blow it into the radiator and just like leave it there all day. And yeah, those God, man, we abused those gen sets. One of them, man, you want to talk about like the quietness. One of the most eerie things I've ever seen in the oil field. We were working night shift, and one of our main gen sets threw a rod, and we weren't able to get it switched over to the other gen set, and so it throws a rod. Like one of those big ass gen sets throwing a rod is kind of scary, man. Like it was like an explosion, and so it throws it, and then just the whole drilling rig just down, and it goes from just being loud to, I mean, nothing, dead silence, middle of West Texas, and then we start freaking out because we're in the hole, and we lost power. But yeah, I mean, that was, shout out to me and the rest of my boys. That was a result of our maintenance.
You said it, Jeff. It's the service that goes into it, and then just a little bit beyond the service is the support. So We're not just a team of, we don't just have a sales team and a field operations crew. We have a whole engineering team behind us that is designing, developing, implementing all of these microgrids or cryptocurrency setups.
Yeah, so let's talk about that real quick. Like if someone's listening and they're like, hey, we're looking at setting up a Bitcoin mining operation. Can they come to you guys and get, can you guys help them on, this is what you're going to need for a generator in your design power system?
We've been forced into that role a couple times. I mean, as far as putting the whole project together, we like to be turnkey, so we embrace it.
Yeah.
But along with us diversifying away from oil and gas, we brought on a lot of engineering support, more than a lot of our competitors have. So we can change things on the fly on the manufacturing line, but at the same time, we can do a site layout in a couple hours in an afternoon. We know what equipment's needed on site. We can have fuel distribution, gen layout, and where their crypto miners are going to go. And we can have that all in a sheet. So we have a roadmap for the site. It's just one step further, more turnkey, that makes everything come together on site that much better.
Yeah. Going back to your point of talking about like service sets you guys apart and you guys out in the field, are you guys concentrated on certain geological or geographic areas to make sure that y'all have the support? Like, are y'all heavy in the Permian, Oklahoma?
Yeah, we don't, we're heavy everywhere. So anywhere that we have an area of operation, we're in that community. And so, the Permian is obviously a large beast, and it always will be. But to that effect, we don't bastardize any other segment of our business due to the Permian. So our operations in the Bakken or, or in, Pennsylvania or in Vernal, Utah, or the Eagleford of South Texas is just as important as the Permian. Yeah. But so we have a large footprint all over, wherever there is an oil and gas shell or oil and gas play, we're there.
Cool. Got it.
A big, cool one along those lines, to talk about your oil changes. This would have helped you out. We
fucking 10 years too late now, dog.
We've got a proprietary oil blend though, not to like pitch it or anything, but it's operationally changed the face of how we operate. We don't have to, for preventive maintenance, oil changes, things like that, touch these things, but every 73 days. We're up to 1,750 hours. Wow. With this blend. It was 750 hours before that. So more than doubled it. And so it allows us to go a little bit further away from our home bases where our shops are at than we could traditionally. So it gives us that flexibility, just not have to touch them for so long.
It gets you a little bit more
unexpected.
Buy some time.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a safety aspect in that as well, that, our guys are on the road less now, and we're out on the customers' locations less now. We're only touching those generators once to everybody else's 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this conversation is, learned a couple of things. I'm going to go look up, I'm going to come school y'all up on some generators. I know y'all could go ask your engineers, but I'm going to come back with an answer on the diesel versus.
Yeah, please do. And you know what? We're probably going to go out in the parking lot and get you an answer before you get back.
No, that's it. I'm going to beat y'all to it.
It's something with fuel density, I do believe.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. That's
good one.
Yeah.
Nice. Throw it out there.
He's like, yeah, energy density. That's the answer.
Malcolm will be calling you soon.
Yeah. No, I've learned a lot, and power generation is actually something that I'm fairly new to. Even though, I worked on gen sets, but, I worked on it from kind of a primitive, like, hey, this is powering a rig and it's my fucking job to change the oil on this thing. And that was about it. But I've really been starting to think about power gen more, especially as I get really interested in microgrids and Bitcoin mining. And so it's good that I think you guys are our first, might be our first generator, power gen.
Hey, we're honored.
Yeah, heck yeah.
I got the opportunity to see you guys speak in Namoga this last year at the luncheon. And I just want to thank you guys for the narrative that you are setting for the oil and gas industry specifically, and also around cryptocurrency. I think it's important for us to get the right message out about both of these industries. Yeah. And we need to be on the leading edge of putting that narrative out, and not some news organization or somebody who really doesn't understand energy or cryptocurrency or any of those things. So thank you guys for doing what you do.
Appreciate that, man. Yeah. It's, I think it's really cool to, like I said, there's so many different parties and components that come into this, that it's really cool to bring it all together and, see it all come to fruition. So, guys, if you're listening to the show and you need a gen set, got to endorse my boys over at Mesa. And get you taken care of. If you're looking for microgrids, you're looking to mine some Bitcoin, you're looking to hash some corn, come get these guys. They'll get you taken care of. I know they do good at work. I've heard about them before I even got introduced to them. So guys, appreciate you coming on the show and teaching us a little bit about what you do. Real quick, I don't know when the show's going out, but I know I say that every week. But come to Empower. It's March 30th, 31st. If you haven't got a ticket, hit us up. Make sure to get a ticket. And then also subscribe to the BDE newsletter. Just go to digitalwildcatters.com. Subscribe to that. Catch you guys on the next show.